Over the last few days, we've seen some dramatic visuals of Indian Naval Marine Commandos overpowering Somali pirates on the high seas. Now, this was the culmination of a 40-hour-long joint operation where the Indian Navy, helped by the Indian Air Force, rescued the bulk cargo vessel Ruin, which was hijacked by Somali pirates, and it was being used as a mother ship. Now, the Navy successfully cornered and coerced all 35 pirates to surrender and ensured safe evacuation of the 17 crew members on board this hijacked merchant ship. Now, this joint operation, as we all know now, was carried out by the Indian Navy's destroyer, the INS Kolkata. It was supported by the INS Subhadra, high-altitude, long-endurance drones, P-8I maritime aircraft, and of course, the Marine Commandos. And today I am joined by Commodore Vijay Rawat and my colleague Deepak Badana. Commodore Rawat, welcome to the News 9 Plus show.
Hi, thank you. Nice to be in the show.
Commodore Rawat, I must first compliment you. What a spectacular operation that was. Those visuals of Marine Commandos parachuting in the middle of the Indian Ocean, 2,000 kilometers away from Indian shores, is something that's going to remain on our minds for a very, very long time.
Yeah, it's actually amazing, and it was, it gives me great pleasure because I was somehow or the other involved in getting all these capabilities for our Marine Commandos, both in terms of equipment and training. And in my tenure till 2020, we were only doing this in terms of doing some exercises at sea, but we had never done a drop from a C-17, that too in a distance beyond 150 nautical miles from our coast. But this was something which was truly spectacular.
Truly
and
spectacular.
This was not only a paradrop, it was a skydive.
A skydive, a water jump. So, Commodore Rawat, explain to us, explain to our viewers what a water jump is and why the Marine Commandos are probably the only Indian force that's equipped to do a water jump 2,000 kilometers away in the middle of the ocean.
Okay, so unlike a normal skydive or a parachute jump on land, where you jump out, you stabilize yourself, and then you prepare to land as and when you reach and you land and you take a roll and you're up and about. In case of a water para jump or a skydive into water, there are far too many imponderables. Number one, the moment you exit from the aircraft, you start removing your reserve parachute and you start aligning yourself to the wind and you start wearing your fins. And you're wearing a neoprene so that in case you hit the water, there is some other thing, so at least you can float for some time. Now, the other imponderable is the sea state and the condition of the waves. Because if you have a sea state of more than 1 or 2, it becomes practically risky, very high risk for a guy to land in the water. Number 3 is because the horizon and the sea horizon and the atmosphere horizon actually mixes, so you lose the judgment of the height. That is why traditionally what happens is that you only start exiting from the parachute once you touch the water. And once you touch the water, if you're not trained well enough, then there is a tendency, and if the winds are strong, there is a tendency that you may not come out of a harness. And if that happens, then potentially it becomes very dangerous because there is a risk of drowning also. So there are too many high risk activity which are actually linked up. So to do an effective water para jump, you have to be highly trained. Firstly, you have to be very comfortable in water. Secondly, you have to be a combat diver. And of course, all these qualities are already there in the Marine Commandos.
Absolutely. But what are the physical qualities that it takes for a Marine Commando to execute a water para jump? I mean, what kind of fitness levels are we talking about?
See, the fitness levels of Marine Commandos are very similar to the fitness levels of all special forces people in India, in the Indian Armed Forces. So that is number one. But more than that, since we are almost a 4-dimensional force, we do air, then we land, we do at the sea and underwater.
No, I think we should break this up, Commodore Rawat. Again, this is, you've been doing it for 30 years, but the people here, we have no concept what 4 dimensions means. So to break it up very quickly, 4 dimensions means land, air, the sea, and under the water. That's 4 dimensions.
Correct. Exactly.
So the Marine Commandos are the only force to operate in all these 4 dimensions.
Correct. So we are the only force in India trained to operate in all the 4 dimensions, and our equipment level and also our assets which are there, which are required to deploy us, are unique to us only. The first is the air medium. Air medium we use by means of skydive, by means of doing a high altitude parachute penetration system. We use for jumping from a height of 25 to 30,000 feet, and we can laterally traverse about 40 to 50 kilometers into enemy territory. So that is so. And the second thing is you do a starting line parachute jump on land or at water. Third thing you do, special heliborne operation. These three are the mediums.
Right.
So the first medium is only for the insertion.
Yes.
Then you either land in water or you
Right.
land in sea. Or you land on land. So if you land on land, then you can go ahead to the operation which is the actual mission.
Right.
And either you can do it on land or you can do it in water. And then for subsea activities also we are trained because we all are qualified combat divers.
Yes.
We carry our underwater scooters, our limpet mines,
Right.
and all this to conduct operations against the enemy floating targets.
Yes.
So this is the combination of all four dimensions.
Right, combination of all four dimensions there. Fascinating explanation from Commodore Rawat. Deepak, what comes to mind when you saw those pictures, those very dramatic visuals of Marine commandos, literally landing on top of the pirate vessel?
I think, these visuals remind you of a number of Hollywood flicks. You usually associate this sort of activity with, say, Hollywood blockbusters.
Yes.
But the fact is that there are Indian special forces who are doing this
Yes.
on a daily basis.
Right.
And they're getting better by the day.
They're getting better by the day. And in fact, Commodore Rawat, this, would it be correct to say this, call this the first operation, active operation carried out so far away from Indian shores? You're talking of something like 2,000 kilometers. We are actually closer to Africa and to the Saudi Arabian Peninsula than you are to Indian waters.
So this was about 2,600 kilometers away from west coast of India. So actually, yes, this was the first time we've done a drop at sea at this long distance.
Right.
And I'm sure that this is not going to be the last, because we got better capabilities, we got
Yes.
better equipment, and so it's a culmination of hard work which we started in 1996.
Right.
So I recall that in 1996 when the U.S. Navy SEALs came
Yes.
and did cross training with us, and I was part of the cross training. And I was
Yes.
sitting in the drop zone as a drop zone safety officer.
Right.
And my boys who were trained by the U.S. Navy SEALs, along with the Navy SEALs, paradropped into the water. And then I was the one to make the standard operating procedures. I wrote it.
Right.
And thereafter, I was fortunate enough to once get elevated to the level of Commodore, and thereafter became the principal director.
Yes.
And we went all out, whatever ideas we had as a young lieutenant, to what all capabilities we must have. After we do a scan of the international special operation capabilities,
Yes.
everything was put on paper, and we really pushed it very hard.
Right.
And the best part is that with a lot of hard work and toil by my superiors and my subordinates, we were able to induct a lot of equipment.
Right.
And today it's a culmination of all this effort, and it is
Right.
so satisfying. I really cannot mention to you.
Absolutely. And you've said it all, Commodore Rawat, that, Deepak, those visuals that we saw is actually the culmination, as Commodore Rawat mentioned, of 28 years of planning, training and equipping. So if anyone says that a special force like this can be raised overnight, ask them to have a word with Commodore Rawat. And that tells you how, organizations take time to be built up, especially special forces units. They can't be created overnight. And the Marine Commandos, Commodore Rawat, you'll be celebrating your 40th anniversary, correct me if I'm wrong, in 2026, the Indian Marine Commando for IMSF.
It was IMSF, Indian Marine Special Force,
Yes.
and we were commissioned in 1987.
Right,
And so almost that many years, as you said.
right, absolutely. And thank you very much for speaking with us, Commodore Rawat. You can watch our special story on the saviors of the Red Sea, about the Indian Navy Marine Commandos who are in harm's way, fighting pirates in the Red Sea. As we speak, that spectacular operation that you saw is just one of many operations that they've conducted over the last couple of months. Of course, Commodore Rawat also joins us in that documentary, Saviors of the Red Sea. You can download the News 9 Plus app to watch.
Streaming on News 9 Plus. News is now content. Subscribe and get free vouchers.